Welcome back to Klepper's Corner. Today in history. Today, April 25th, is a masterclass in how humanity handles pressure, power, and opportunity, which is to say, not always gracefully, but almost always memorably. This is a day where empires collapse under their own weight. Revolutions accidentally become symbols of hope. Scientific breakthroughs redefine reality. And somewhere along the way, people still find time to argue, panic, and occasionally invent something that works a little too well. It's a timeline stitched together by ambition, desperation, and the recurring belief that this time we've finally figured everything out, right before proving we absolutely have not. Segment 1, and empires that collapse louder than they rise. In 404 BC, Athens, once the cultural and naval superstar of the ancient world, was forced to surrender to Sparta, ending the Peloponnesian War and bringing down what many considered the pinnacle of Greek civilization. After years of overextension, internal conflict, and one catastrophic naval defeat, the city found itself starving, isolated, and out of options, which is history's way of saying, maybe don't build your entire empire on ships you can lose in one afternoon. The Spartans, in a move that feels equal parts merciful and petty, chose not to destroy Athens outright, citing its past heroism against Persia, but did insist on tearing down the long walls that had protected the city. And they did it to the sound of flute music, which somehow makes it feel less like a military victory and more like a very slow, humiliating parade. The irony is almost poetic. Athens helped save Greece, then helped exhaust it, and ultimately left it so fractured that future conquest became inevitable. It's the geopolitical equivalent of winning the argument but losing the house, the car, and your entire support system in the process. Segment 2, and when power gets personal and very violent. By 799 AD, the stage shifts to Rome, where Pope Leo III is attacked in broad daylight by political enemies who attempt to blind and mutilate him. Not out of pure cruelty, but because, technically, a pope without eyes and a tongue couldn't perform his duties. It's less an assassination attempt and more a horrifying HR workaround. Leo survives, escapes, and does what any threatened leader would do. He finds someone bigger and stronger to stand next to. In this case, Charlemagne. This alliance doesn't just save Leo, it reshapes Europe, culminating in Charlemagne being crowned Holy Roman Emperor and effectively redefining the balance of power in the West. Meanwhile, in the South Caucasus, the Battle of Bagravan shows the other side of power struggles, where rebellion meets overwhelming force and gets crushed so thoroughly it reshapes the entire regional hierarchy. These events may seem disconnected, but they share a theme. Power is rarely stable, and when it's threatened, the response is either strategic alliance or total annihilation. Sometimes both, depending on how the morning is going. Segment 3, and New Worlds, Last Days, and the Cost of Ambition. In 1607, English settlers arrive at Cape Henry, marking the beginning of what will become the first permanent English foothold in North America. It's often framed as a bold new beginning, but it starts with immediate tension, uncertainty, and conflict, which is a recurring theme in colonization that rarely makes the inspirational posters. These settlers are chasing opportunity, but they're also stepping into a situation they don't fully understand, which is a pattern that echoes throughout history. Ambition first, consequences later. Meanwhile, across the globe in 1644, the Ming Dynasty reaches its breaking point as internal rebellion and external pressure converge on Beijing. The Chongzhen Emperor, abandoned by his officials and out of options, ends his life rather than face the collapse of his rule. It's one of history's most tragic and symbolic moments. A ruler so isolated at the top that when everything falls apart, there's no one left to stand with him. Together, these stories highlight the two ends of ambition, starting something new and losing everything, and how both are often driven by the same human impulse to push forward, regardless of the risks. Segment 4, and progress that comes with a warning label. By the late 18th century, the French Revolution introduces the guillotine, a machine designed to make execution more humane and equal. which sounds noble until you realize it also makes it incredibly efficient. It's innovation with a very sharp edge, literally and figuratively. And it quickly becomes the symbol of a revolution that's trying to balance ideals with reality, and not always succeeding. Fast forward to 1859, and the groundbreaking of the Suez Canal represents another kind of progress, a massive engineering project that reshapes global trade and connectivity. It shortens distances, accelerates commerce, and becomes one of the most important waterways on Earth. But like many great achievements, it comes with a cost, including immense human labor and geopolitical tension that will echo for generations. These moments remind us that progress is rarely straightforward. It solves problems, creates new ones, and often leaves behind a trail of unintended consequences that future generations have to figure out. Segment 5 and Unity, Discovery, and the Complicated Truth of Success. In 1945, American and Soviet forces meet at the Elbe River, a moment that symbolizes unity and the approaching end of World War II. Soldiers from two very different systems come together, shake hands, and celebrate a shared victory, creating an image that feels hopeful, almost idealistic. But history doesn't pause for optimism. Within a few years, these same allies are locked in a Cold War, proving that unity can be situational and temporary, especially when larger ambitions come into play. Then, in 1953, the discovery of DNA's double helix structure fundamentally changes our understanding of life itself. It's a breakthrough that opens the door to modern genetics, medicine, and biotechnology, showing what humanity can achieve when knowledge and curiosity align. But even here, the story is complicated, involving overlooked contributions and questions about recognition that linger long after the discovery is made. Success, it turns out, is rarely simple. It's layered, collaborative, and sometimes a little uneven in how credit is given. Segment 6 and Revolutions, Mistakes, and Seeing the Bigger Picture. In 1974, Portugal's Carnation Revolution peacefully topples decades of authoritarian rule, demonstrating that not all revolutions have to be violent to be effective. It's a rare moment where change happens with restraint, symbolized by flowers placed in rifle barrels instead of bullets fired. And it stands out precisely because of how unusual that approach is. Contrast that with 1990, when the Hubble Space Telescope is launched into orbit, only for scientists to realize that its mirror has a tiny flaw that renders its images blurry. It's a billion-dollar reminder that even our most advanced projects are still vulnerable to human error. And yet, both moments share something important: the ability to adapt. Portugal transitions to democracy, and NASA fixes Hubble, turning it into one of the most important scientific instruments ever created. It's a fitting way to end the day, on the idea that even when things go wrong, they don't have to stay that way. In conclusion, April 25th is a day that captures the full range of human experience: triumph and failure, innovation and oversight, unity and division. It shows us that history isn't just a collection of events. It's a reflection of how people respond when faced with challenges, opportunities, and the unknown. And if there's one consistent lesson, it's this: we may not always get it right the first time, but we almost always leave behind a story worth telling, even if it comes with a few unintended consequences along the way.